What's up with it though? I'm right here, big chilling, reading out of the Word, and I was reading out of Hosea chapter 11 this morning, and I was reading it yesterday morning as well, the same chapter, and I keep coming to these verses right here, and when I read them, I'm in awe of God's kindness and God's goodness. So I thought I'd share it real quick. It says this, starting in verse 7 to verse 9 of chapter 11. It says, "My people are bent on turning away from me, and though they call out to the Most High, He shall not raise them up at all. How can I give you up, O Ephraim? How can I hand you over, O Israel? How can I make you like Admah? How can I treat you like Zeboim? My heart recoils within me. My compassion grows warm and tender. I will not execute my burning anger. I will not again destroy Ephraim, for I am God and not a man, the Holy One in your midst, and I will not come in wrath." It's perplexing, to think of this, because Israel, Ephraim, they deserved God's wrath. They continually forsook God and went after false gods, false idols, and through them leaving God, forsaking God, they turned corrupt. There was lawlessness abounding in the land. The widows were plundered. The poor were taken advantage of. It was just all around horrible. Yet God has compassion. His heart recoiled, and he chose not to come to them in wrath. Psalm 89, 30 and 37. "If his children forsake my law and do not walk according to my rules, if they violate my statutes and do not keep my commandments, then I will punish their transgression with the rod and their iniquity with stripes. But I will not remove from him my steadfast love or be false to my faithfulness. I will not violate my covenant or alter the word that went from my lips. Once for all I have sworn by my holiness, I will not lie to David. His offspring shall endure forever, his throne as long as the sun before me. Like the moon, it shall be established forever, a faithful witness in the skies." And so, although God did punish them with the rod of men, He did not make a complete end of them. He left the remnant so that He could be true to His covenant with David, that He will establish His kingdom forever. "When your days are fulfilled and you lie down with your fathers, I will raise up your offspring after you, who shall come from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." And so, in God's faithfulness, He didn't destroy Israel like He did Admah and Zeboim, but He left a remnant. For what reason? So that the true king, the king that came from David's own body, God's only son, would come, His son Jesus. And what's crazy about this is that, although He spared Israel from His wrath, He did not spare his son, Jesus Christ. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. And so God put our sin upon Jesus, and as sin so rightly deserves, he had to unleash his wrath upon Christ, so his wrath will not abide in us, so that his wrath would not abide on Israel. And so reading all that, it trips me out. It brings me to a place of worship. It brings me to my knees when I'm like, man, God, you know, you are a loving God. You are a gracious God. Because although Israel deserved your wrath, you spared them from it. Yet you didn't spare it from your own begotten son. And it's like, wow, you know, to think on that, that he did it for us, you know, for our sake, is extraordinary. And it just brings me to a place of worship and surrender. I'm going to read what it says in Romans chapter 11, and then I'm going to push on. It says, note then the kindness and the severity of God. Severity toward those who have fallen, but God's kindness to you, provided you continue in his kindness. Otherwise, you too will be cut off. And so reading that, right, recognizing God's goodness, God's graciousness, we need to think upon that, meditate on that, and fall to our knees and thank God that he did not unleash his full wrath on Israel, that he did not unleash his full wrath on us, but he unleashed it on his son Jesus, because he cares for us. And so let us not take that for granted, but let us humble ourselves, seek God, worship God, and do those things that the Lord requires.